Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to discuss the special task force that the SEC is creating for creating better regulations around the crypto industry, providing clear guidance for banks so they can start using this in their payment flows. We also have some information around Bank of America. We're going to just briefly touch on, of course, what Brad Garlinghouse said in Trump meeting. Jay Claver is going to break down when accessing blockchain tech for institutions, people overlook key factors of multi-signature on the XRP Ledger. And we have a few other pieces of news that we're going to talk about in this video. So let's go ahead and start right here.
And talk to us a little bit about what's going on with SAB 121. Let's talk accounting details here, because I'm looking at this tweet from Hester Peirce. As I mentioned, she's been nicknamed the crypto mom. She says, bye-bye SAB 121. It's not been fun, SEC.gov. Staff Accounting Bulletin, number 122. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, as Mike said, that Hester Peirce and Mark Ueda are now two of the three commissioners left in the SEC. There's supposed to be five. We got to wait for Paul Atkins to likely be confirmed. But what SAB 121 did, you could argue maybe the SEC had good intentions. A lot of people in the crypto industry would say they had bad intentions. But what it did is it said that if you hold in crypto, if you're custodying crypto, think big Bank of New York Mellon, they custody $50 trillion in assets. They do not have $50 trillion on their balance sheet. But if you're going to custody crypto, you got to put that as a liability. And that means if you're a bank, they have a lot of regulatory requirements. They have to hold regulatory capital. So like the fees they would earn from custodying those assets do not even come close to offsetting the regulatory costs of like holding assets to offset that. So basically what it did is it functionally made it illegal for TradFi institutions to play in the crypto space and custody crypto assets, despite many of these banks wanting to get involved. They see the money that Coinbase and these other people are making, but getting rid of this means that the TradFi players are going to come in. I also think it's likely going to cause people like Coinbase and Kraken and Gemini. Right now, you have them trading these assets and custodying them. That's not how it works in TradFi. The New York Stock Exchange does not custody your asset. There's other platforms that do it. I think there's going to be separation there. We're already seeing trickle effects, but we're going to see a lot more come down from this repeal.
You know, James, I'd love to bring it into your wheelhouse of ETFs. I've lost track of how many crypto-related ETF applications we've seen, but I'm wondering from your perspective how much the pendulum really has swung as far as these applications landing with the SEC. I mean, can we expect really just a rubber stamp for all of them, or will there be some pushback about, hey, do we really need a double-levered bonk ETF?
Great call out. That thing was filed yesterday. I mean, so what we're seeing is a bunch of these issuers, particularly issuers that kind of go after the more exotic space of the ETP market, are pushing the limits to see what this SEC is going to allow. And I think it's basically going to be decided by Hester Peirce and that crypto task force about like what rules and regulations are we going to have around assets that can be put in the ETP wrapper. I don't think it's a guarantee these things are going to get approved. I think it's likely that a lot of things are going to get approved, but they're going to draw the line somewhere. I don't know if that's going to be a market cap or how these assets come to market, or who knows exactly what they're going to come up with, but I don't think it's going to be a rubber stamp. All these things just get through automatically. And honestly, I think if that does happen, it might not be a good thing. It might be the pendulum, as you hinted, swinging completely too far to the opposite direction.
That's a great point. We don't want to overcorrect, right? We've had 4 years of just stupid policy. We don't want to go back the other way, right? We want to make sure that the ETFs and the ETPs, electronically traded funds or electronically traded products, are maybe top quality, right? Because these are institutional or higher end people like that are dealing in stocks and different bonds and things like that. Those are the people that are going to be buying into these funds. So are we going to have bonk and other meme coins? Maybe a basket of top meme coins? Hard to say, guys. Hard to say. Of course, we know Bank of America. I've talked about this a lot. We do know they are waiting for some approval from the SEC. Once Paul Atkins is actually at the helm of the SEC, I would imagine that they are going to give these banks the guidance that they need to start hopefully using crypto in their payment infrastructure. We know Bank of America has hundreds of blockchain patents and a lot with actually Ripple and XRP on them. And, you know, they've been waiting. Second biggest bank in America. DZ Bank pioneers institutional digital asset custody offering with Ripple custody. Excuse me, let me play this.
DZ Bank is quite happy, and we're a bit proud that we're one of the first banks in Germany which really built and made their digital custody platform going live. We can serve our clients dealing with settlement and custody of digital assets, focusing on crypto securities according to the German securities law. My name is Holger Meffert. I'm head of security services and digital custody at DZ Bank in Frankfurt. DZ Bank is the largest German depository bank with a volume of 300 million asset under depository.
Beginning of 2023, we then decided that we should best work together with Ripple Custody. So what we aimed at is finding a solution that is as best as integrated in existing capital markets processes to make it as efficient as possible. We started to implement, and then only after 10 months, we are proud to have gone live with the custody solution based on what Ripple is offering. Have gone live with the custody solution as efficient as possible. We started to implement, and then only after 10 months, we are proud to have gone live with the custody solution based on what Ripple is offering. We aim at introducing a solution for the custody and the settlement and management of digital assets. Well, the architecture of our solution evolves, of course, around, let's say, the core, which is being able to transact and administer wallets in this digital asset space on blockchains. Ripple Custody is one part, but we've also built a key infrastructure. We are working with analytics providers to investigate on blockchains. And we are planning on integrate our solution fully in the capital markets processes that we already have at DZ Bank.
Fully into the capital markets, guys. It's great to see a large portion of banks understanding how important this digital asset revolution is going to be. They understand that their customers are going to want. Listen, I go back and forth with this with people when I do live chats. I do live chats on Tuesdays and Fridays at 2:30 PST. So if you ever want to join that, yesterday we had like 2,000 people hanging out. I was answering some questions, and long story short, people, were saying, oh, it's not good that banks are going to want to custody your crypto assets and things like that. I said, I get that there's going to be some people that don't trust banks to hold onto their crypto assets, but when you're thinking about a larger portion of the population, not everyone is going to be as smart as you are or as skilled as you are, right? They're going to be a little bit more basic when it comes to digital assets. Not everyone maybe puts in the same amount of time as you do to really understanding how everything works. And they trust their bank, right? Their mortgage is at the bank, their credit cards are at the bank. They've probably been at the bank for decades, So there's a relationship there, right? Especially in community banks or credit unions, right? Smaller banks where everybody knows each other. This is going to play a vital role on onboarding the next 500 million or billion people into the crypto market. And I, for one, would like to see that. So I have no problem with banks custodying crypto. I think it's the next step in the evolution of you and I front running all of this.
The need of digital asset is just trying to find optimized processes and new products. And therefore we have to think about new technologies, and DLT and blockchain is one which can help us to serve our clients better, to open up new products for our clients, especially the asset managers, to improve their performances if they want.
Digital ledger technology aims at improving existing capital market processes. This is how we see a distributed ledger technology. These two processes, distributed ledger as well as existing capital markets business, will coexist the next decade.
Great video, man. Great video. All right, let's keep going. So I played this in another video yesterday. I'm not going to play this three minute clip. Basically, Brad Garlinghouse admits, before it was speculation, rumor, right? We kind of know, now it's official, that he has had meetings with Donald Trump. He has talked to Donald Trump about a strategic reserve. Of course, I'd imagine he talked about XRP and maybe other crypto assets. I like that Trump is listening to key players in the space. I still know that there's this, a large part of maybe the Bitcoin maximalist side of people just really upset with the XRP community. I'd say get over it. All right. So when assessing blockchain tech for institutions, people often overlook key factors, multi-signature capability. However, this feature is already built into the XRP Ledger, giving it an edge over other chains.
There's something that most people miss when they think about which blockchain or technology might be integrated with banks or enterprises. And that piece is multisig. So one of the main things on the XRPL that sets it apart from other chains and differentiates it in enterprise setting or for banks and institutions is the multisig feature. This allows for governance to be built out around payment flows and authorizations to have to happen at certain levels or be weighted by the individual that's signing on an account. So let's say, maybe even within your own company, you're okay with each employee spending $50 or $100 to solve a problem or an issue, which I think is a great way to be able to delegate that and be able to resolve conflicts quickly. If somebody needs to solve something, assign them a small amount of money that they can spend to solve a problem. And then obviously they have to report it later. But with blockchain, they wouldn't even have to. You'd be able to see it right there. So on the XRPL, you can designate, up to a certain dollar amount, you might only need one signature. Up to another dollar amount, might require multiple signatures. It might require a specific person's signature at the bank or institution or enterprise. It's utilizing that wallet for those payment flows. And because of that, this is why it's going to be adopted at scale in these applications versus some other blockchains that have to have some other UI or something else that's a secondary layer to be able to provide these features. This is built into the network inherently, which allows you to build out these governance structures, especially if they're complex, right? You might have certain situations where there's a smart contract or a transaction between two parties where specific people are needed to sign on this. And this could also be for trusts, right? You might need a distribution trustee to sign off on something. You might want your spouse to sign off on something over a certain amount. You might want your manager to sign off on something over a certain amount. You might need the CEO of a company to sign off on something over a certain amount. And so if you don't have this feature set that's inherent to the blockchain and it's a derivative or a secondary layer on top of that, there's going to be problems and it's probably going to break at some point. Where as long as it's built into the layer one like it is with the XRPL, you're not going to have those issues. So along with, digital identity and all of the other huge things that the XRPL has going for it, multisig again sets it apart as a differentiator from any other blockchain. And that's why, again, XRP is going to be the winner when it comes to banks and institutions and their adoption of this technology for their use cases in payments.
There you have it. Jay Claver breaking it down. Appreciate that. XRP will be added to the U.S. Strategic Crypto Reserve. We did talk about that already. And so I want to clear something up here. I harp on other channels that kind of do something similar, and my team has, sometimes they post things that necessarily I wouldn't listen. I have YouTube, I have a Discord community, I have Twitter, I have Telegram. It's a lot for one person to be everywhere and do everything, right? You have to have people that help you do all this stuff. And so I think that all banks in Japan will have the option to use XRP. I don't know if every bank is going to use XRP. I don't think anybody can specifically say that every bank anywhere is going to use one thing. Just wanted to clear that up. And I did talk with my team about, wording and things like that. But just so you guys know, the titles of my videos and the thumbnails, I give suggestions, but my editors and my thumbnail people, they work out a lot of this stuff. I, of course, do the content and I have ideas about what I would like to see. And it's just hard to be all these places at one time. And if you know me, if you're in my community, you know that I'm dealing with a lot of medical issues. I'm going to need surgery in at least 3 or 4 places in my body over the next 6 months. And it's just been really challenging for me to do all of this over the last, 4 or 5 months. And so I'm doing my absolute best. And I hope that's good enough for you, because I'm trying to do everything I can to help you and educate you in the crypto space. So thank you.
Actually, Japan is a very, very cash-oriented society. Surprisingly, yeah. People think we are kind of advanced, but by the way, I come from Japan. But the percentage of digital payments of all the transactions is actually only 19%. So it's actually kind of national agenda to increase digital payments. And the government encourage banks to innovate so that they can increase the digital payments ratio. So now what we are doing in Japan is we created a consortium of more than 50 banks to come together to develop a completely new payments platform or infrastructure powered by Ripple's distributed ledger technology.
So I've done the math on this. There's about 218 banks. I think it's 218. Perplexity. It's not including financial institutions. Hold on. Let me give you the exact number, because I want to be exact with you. How many banks are there in Japan? Let me see. 218 banks. See? Good memory. As of January 2025, there were approximately 218 banks. So it looks like city banks 5, regional banks 100, trust banks 14, foreign banks 17, other banks 9. So when you're talking about maybe just Japanese banks, right? We want to leave these 2 out because these are foreign banks or other banks. And so you got city banks, regional banks, and trust banks. So you're only looking at 109 banks here. If you got 50 plus banks in Japan working on this, Ripple consortium, you're talking about over half the banks already. And this might not include banks like SBI and all of their subsidiaries and all of their other, partnerships. So, is it a crazy thing to say that all banks will have access to it? I don't think so. I think it's a reality. Will all those banks start to use it? That, I think, is the more tricky question. Okay. Also, looks like Gary Gensler went back to MIT. So professor at practice at the MIT Sloan School of Management. Most SEC, chairs go to maybe cushier jobs. I know Jay Clayton went to some work for some big law firm, and so did the gentleman that pushed for, Ethereum's free pass. And I can't remember his name. I try to put it out of my mind. But Gary, I guess, loves teaching, and I don't think Gary needs to work. And so I'm glad he's gone, but I do wish him luck. And I know there was a lot of shit I didn't agree with about him, but he's trying to teach more young people about digital assets. And I think that's really important. I should add something. So Anders X says, I should add something. If XRP truly becomes the preferred chain to tokenize US treasuries, you can safely assume that the US government will include XRP in the strategic reserve. I did a video on this yesterday. Open Eden, one way for retail people to start investing in US treasuries. And now you have this partnership with Ondo Finance. And of course, there's some connections there with BlackRock, BNY Mellon, PricewaterhouseCoopers, really interesting stuff. I did a video on this yesterday. So you have institutional clients now getting access to this. The reason this is powerful is because the US treasury bond market, right? There's different bonds, like how many types of US bonds are there? I think there's a ton of them. US treasury securities, municipal bonds, corporate bonds, agency bonds, and other types, right? So mortgage-backed security bonds, green bonds, international payment bonds, a lot of different bonds. But just the treasury bonds by themselves, T-bills, this is a $28 trillion market. As this moves onto blockchain, because it's safer, more secure, and it runs 24/7, 365, how much of that 28 trillion will find its way onto the XRP ledger? Will it be half? Will it be 25%? Will it be 10%? Even at 10%, ladies and gentlemen, that's $2.8 trillion added to the XRP ledger. That would send XRP well to $50, right? That would be exciting. That would be really exciting. And this is just one avenue. This is not talking about other types of securities or, derivatives, real estate, those tokenization of those assets. I think there's a bright future for the XRP ledger. And also, here you go. Unleash crypto's potential in the US with smart, forward-thinking laws. Let's fuel innovation with thoughtless litigation.
The plumbing of how our finances work in the United States is very fast evolving. If we put forward a set of logical, thoughtful laws in this space, in the crypto space, what we can actually see is innovation and development occurring in the United States and to the long-term benefit of the country.
Long-term benefit of the country. I'd love to hear that. And then here you go. Ondo's actually going to have a summit, the Ondo Summit, and David Schwartz is going to be a speaker at the summit. It's great to see Ondo and Ripple coming together. I think they are two powerhouses out here in the crypto space. I don't think you should sleep on this. I think you should. Now is the time. If there is ever a time in your life to really concentrate, learn, grow, this is the time. Okay? You're not going to get another opportunity like this. There's not going to be a whole new market that pops up out of nowhere. And, in a decade or 2 decades, you're going to, 2 trillion to 100 trillion. You're just not going to see it. Okay. Now's the time. This is your one opportunity. Don't mess it up. I'll see you next time.